Hello, everyone. Welcome to Better Talks. I'm here today with a special guest, and I'm going to kindly allow him to introduce himself.
Hi, my name's Ralph Velasco, and for 16 years now, I've been a small group tour organizer, a travel photographer, and author. And so I lead groups around the world to such places as Antarctica, Cuba, India, Cambodia, Vietnam, throughout Europe. I've done Morocco and Egypt as well. And so my groups are anywhere from 6 to 10 people typically, and they're mostly based around the culture, people, food and drink, and all the places that we travel to.
I see that you have an extensive experience in operating business, primarily in the restaurant industry, and you also work as a real estate agent and a marketing director. So, how are all this combination of different business types, and what are some of the skill set that you have learned from your previous businesses that is currently helping you in your current business?
Yeah, those are all businesses that I've had before. I've almost always been in my own business one way or another, whether it's owning restaurants or I sold real estate. I was financial advisor. Those are all businesses that are pretty much yours, even though you might be working for another company. But now all I do is the tour organizing. I've got a YouTube channel and I've authored several books recently. But any skill that you learn from life or a business is almost always applicable to whatever it is that you're doing today. And so I've taken all the pros and cons of the things that I've done in the past, the things that I've learned, good and bad, and I've tried to incorporate them into this business, which is very different, obviously, from those other ones. When I had the restaurant, I had employees, I had a physical space. Um, those were things that are very different now because now I kind of work from wherever my laptop is.
Mm.
And so that's been a real game changer for me because now I can travel the world and take my business with me and feel that I can keep up with it because there's always a lot of details, as you can imagine, organizing and leading all these tours. And so being able and that's got its pros and cons because then I always feel like there's something that I could be doing for my business. There's always something to do. So my computer's right there. And so I find myself working quite a bit. It's not easy to just sort of leave the office and leave work there. My computer's always with me. So I'm always able to work.
Most people are not aware that working for yourself sometimes extend to after 8 hour shift, just like working for somebody. They don't understand that as an entrepreneur, when you're working for yourself, sometimes you have to stay to work longer hours. Sometimes you have sleepless night. And as you said, your computer is always with you. And thank God for technology, making sure that you're able to digitalize your content wherever you are. That's where your business is. You don't need a physical location. You don't need an office. It's just you and your laptop and coordinating people as well. I'm pretty sure you have employees.
I don't have any employees.
Mm.
So I work with some gig workers. I've got a an assistant that lives in Ukraine. I've got a video editor in Spain and
Wow.
uh, different all parts of the world. Um, so it's fun because I get to work with these different cultures and different
Yes.
personalities, and it's really interesting for my business, and so I really enjoy that part of it. And I for the most part, though, I do everything myself, but I have some people that help me with some other things.
So you outsource some of the services like the video editing, the marketing,
That's
customer
right.
service side. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. This leads me to my third question. Technology has interconnected the world, obviously, creating a global digital village. However, each place in the world is unique and distinct, and it's important for us to understand what set them apart and what brings them together? Based on your experience, what brings us together as a global village and what makes each country or each people distinct and unique from your experience and working with people from the global world?
Yeah, as I mentioned, deal with people from around the world, and I take my groups, which are mostly from North America, but also from Europe and other English-speaking countries, and we go to these destinations to learn about them, to try the food, meet the people, see the sights, and to learn from them. So I love one of the best parts of travel is meeting the local people and learning from them, getting a different perspective on life, and not always feeling like what we do is right. And so I like to learn from other people and get their perspective on similar topics and learn
Hmm.
about how they deal with certain things. And I learn from that all the time. So that's one of the best parts of my job.
So when you get to these new places, do you educate your guest about the country or the place that you're introducing them to?
Yeah, I mean, I have the knowledge of having been to these places almost all the time. I rarely go to a place for the first time with a group. Typically,
Okay.
I've been there before. I've scouted it out. I always try to go in the same season of when I plan to run the trip because oftentimes it's about, maybe we go to Romania for the hay harvest or another place for a certain festival, or it could be the spring flowers and all that has, in Europe. So I always go to a place a year in advance. This way I can get the photos and videos of the place in the similar
Hmm.
season. And then I'll bring my groups back. As far as teaching them about the destination, I have limited knowledge because I've only traveled there, but we always have local guides.
Hmm.
So our local guides are the ones that are able to provide us with the real culture, what it's like to live in that place, the language, the history, and all those kinds of things. And I think, when we travel, we prefer to learn from someone that's local rather
Yeah.
than even someone that's knowledgeable about the place, but they're not a local.
Hmm.
You really feel close to the place when someone local is teaching you about it, translating the language, telling you about the traditions and customs from a firsthand knowledge.
Yeah, that's a beautiful idea. Yeah. That makes sense completely, absolute sense. Yeah, wow. That's interesting. And then my second to last question is, how would you appreciate tips on conducting business and maintaining a professional approach in different locations, particularly when it comes to culture, ethics, and communication methods? In essence, what I'm trying to say is that the way we go about doing business, there are business norms. Different cultures have different business norms. There are different ethics and way of communication. So how would you go about interacting with these locals, asking them for them to be guide to your guest? How would you go about that on a professional level?
Yeah, I deal with mostly guides and tour operators that have a lot of experience with typically North American travelers like we are. And so they know how to work with us.
Hmm.
And I know how to work with them, especially over time. And so there are differences, of course. And so I always try to be aware of that. I try to educate myself in advance if possible. And then at some time, there are some times when perhaps there's some sort of a compromise or a misunderstanding that we have to work out. But that's very rare. And so I think there's this overall business culture that we've all sort of molded ourselves around, and we can work with each other in there. So there are some differences in different places, of course, no doubt about it. But there is a common business culture for the most part, and then
Mm,
we just have to make little tweaks for where I'm coming from, wherever I'm going to with their people, and then we try to have an understanding and somewhere in the middle. And I think that's a beautiful part because that's again another way that I can learn about a new business tactic or something, or perhaps I could teach someone else how we do it. But I never go in, trying to change someone or change the culture. And that's something that's very important when I bring my groups to a place. They're different than ours. There's no doubt about it. There's, very few places that are the same as where you are from, wherever that is. And so that's the beauty of it. But I try to emphasize to my people that we shouldn't go to this place and try to fix it, with quotation marks, because it's different than what we do. We should go there and try to understand it and not try to fix it, because that's something that we always, we always think about doing is like, boy, if they only did it this way, or why don't they do it that way? And, we do it this way and that's the right way to do it. It works here, but that's not the case. We need to go there and understand it, not try to change it or fix it, because chances are we're not going to. It's probably been that way for hundreds, if not thousands of years, whatever that culture is. And so going there and trying to fix it, I think, is a big mistake.
mm. That's an interesting point you mentioned. Go there trying to understand what they're doing, work with them rather than going there trying to fix them because it has been there, it has been established. That is their tradition, that is their custom, that is their social norms, that is their way of going about doing business, and there's some ethical standards. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
My last
Yeah,
question. Okay, go on. Yeah.
if you don't mind, that's why I travel. I travel to go to different places that I can learn from, not to places that are the same as where I'm from,
Interesting.
because otherwise I just stay at home. So I go to these places because they're different, because they have
Mm.
different outlooks and perspectives and ways of doing business, traditions, cultures. That's why I travel, and I think that's why the majority of people do.
So your guests are pretty much, they should expect that you're going to a new place that is completely different from where you're coming from.
Yeah, the people that come on my trips are typically very well traveled, and they understand that. They've been around and they know that that's the case. Someone new that's maybe just traveling for the first time out of their own
Yeah.
country, they go to a new place and that's the culture shock that you hear of.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and so you're shocked by the culture because it's so different than yours. And
Wow.
so I think it's really important to travel with that understanding that we're not going there to change it or fix it, but we're going there because it's different.
Well, and I mean, the idea is not like you're saying that you're not going there to change. The idea is really to connect with that culture that you're visiting, right? At least if you can try to connect with them, that will give you a better experience when you leave that culture, when you leave that country, you know?
Absolutely.
Wow, wow, interesting. So, based on your business, what are some of the transferable skills that you can share with anyone that they can apply in their professional life, in their business life, in their day-to-day existence?
Yeah, I think for people that are entrepreneurs, people that have their own businesses or side hustles, or they're perhaps moving towards that from a more corporate type of job, maybe they want to start their own businesses. Um, I think it's really important to be learning all the time to keep up with the skills that are important in whatever industry you're in. Language skills, I think, are important.
Mm,
For good or bad, English is the language of business
yeah.
worldwide for the most part. And so I think I'm lucky because I was born into this language. But for people who it's not the first language, I've got to imagine it's very difficult to learn the language and then to do business in it as well.
Mm,
And so, yeah, and But I say that, I'm lucky to have been born into this language, but I also, as North Americans, we're often, recognized because we don't know any other languages, because we kind of don't have to, because we very presumptuously think that we go somewhere and everyone speaks English. And of
Yeah.
course, that's not the case, but a little more and more it is becoming that way. And it's unfortunate because it's then less required for us to learn other languages. Now I speak Spanish,
Mm.
so I've got that, and I've been traveling to Spanish speaking countries for over 40 years,
Wow.
and so I'm very happy to uh, have that second language, but a lot of times we don't, and so that knowledge of English, I'm lucky that I was born into it, but I also feel unlucky that I didn't have to learn other languages, but I do speak Spanish, so I guess I've got that going for me.
Yes, yes. At least you have two languages on your belt, English and Spanish, and they're quite popular. Obviously, English is the most popular
Yeah,
language, business-wise, communication, foreign relationships, and Spanish as well. Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
beautiful. Learn and communication.
And now, of course, it's AI and perhaps learning how to use ChatGPT and just keeping abreast of new technologies. And everything's changing so quickly
Yes,
these days.
absolutely. Yeah,
You're probably a lot younger than me. You probably grew up in this internet age where someone like me, we didn't have the internet for the first 30 years of my life,
yeah.
and cell phones and all these other things. Uh, so we've had to learn that. But I feel I'm grateful that I've had both experiences.
Hmm.
So I know what it was like pre-internet and cell phones, etc. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, so younger folks are, I think, more adept at learning these new technologies because they grew up with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm happy that older folks are adopting it. They're adapting to it as well. They're making use of it because it's disrupting everything. It's disrupting families. It's disrupting the government. It's disrupting business. It's disrupting the workplace. So we just have to just embrace it and use it for our own benefit, you know?
That's right. It's not going anywhere, so we might as well make the best of it. And my mother, who's 88 years old, is very technologically, she's good.
Wow.
She's pretty adept. She's got a great mind, and she's very open to learning.
Wow.
But she stumbles, and so I have to help her.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get a little bit impatient, and as I think most of us probably do with older folks. And she always puts me in my place. She says, "Hey, be patient. I'm the one
Yeah.
who taught you how to eat with a spoon."
Yeah, she's right. She's right. She's right. She's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. My final question is, in case the audience is interested in your service, kindly tell us about your service, how they can reach you.
Yeah. So again, I organize and lead small group tours around the world, and people can uh, find out all the information about me at my website, which is continentaldrifter.co. All my trips are there. You can find my books there. I've got a very extensive blog, my YouTube channel, podcasts that I've been on. Everything that's the hub is continentaldrifter.co.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Raf, for your precious time and sharing with us what you do and some of the business knowledge as well.